Okay, good evening, everybody. We're live here now, so I'm on tonight for just a little bit if folks come in, but there are some questions that come up that are worthy of sharing out there. I'll send this email out if it's something that not a lot of questions or it's site specific. We may just send you an email. Obviously, if you get this video, you'll know it's live, or it's out. So. Are there any questions about anything with the modules that you've got that we talked about in regards to the one that you're currently in, the video we had the other night?
No, I don't have any questions. No.
That's fine. If you don't have any, everything going well on the discussion boards?
Yeah, once you put it back out again yesterday evening, it worked fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I really like having the prompts ahead of time. That way I have a little bit more time to think about them.
Okay, good. All right, so if there ain't no questions about that, are there any questions or about the marketing plan, the next particular one that you have to do? Well, let me see here. Let me pull it up.
The process journal is due Tuesday.
That's right. So the marketing plan is one you all already submitted. So, so the process journal, that's pretty. Yeah, I pulled up the marketing plan by accident. It just hit me that was last week. I'm looking at it right now. Let me do this. Let me set that up, and I'll pull it up to the process journal is pretty simple, I think, to understand.
Okay.
Yeah. I do have one question about the process journal.
Sorry. I didn't mean to pull you up there, Kelsey. I was going to try somebody else here.
It's okay.
Oh, what it's doing? Ah, there we go. Can y'all see it?
Yes.
Okay, so what's your question, Kelsey?
Just one of the parts talks about wants us to talk about our failures. Because we haven't actually, like for instance, mine was actually getting funding to build a small computer lab with like 4 computers. Because obviously that hasn't actually happened. Can we like speculate the failures and the weak spots? Would that be okay?
Okay, let me back up a little bit. What you're doing here is you're not really talking about the failures of your plan of action. It's really potential, and I don't like the word failures, maybe it's challenges. Challenges within your group in putting this together.
Okay.
Look at this from a leadership standpoint. I mean, this is educational leadership. And it's you leading a group of people to make something happen. So we're not really looking at what's going to happen as to whether that's a success, although you could include it if it's a success or not a success. I mean, it's good to have in there. But what I would want to know is, did my group, what were the challenges or the good things that were get together about my group collaborating to put this, to make this decision? What are the challenges? Did I have a group that I kind of had one thought about how it should end up, and then I had a group that had another way of thinking about it, and we couldn't come up to a resolution to it. Or maybe you have a group that's all one accord except for one person who seems to constantly be ambushing the process, and you can look at, okay, what can I do better to make this person come on my side, or to come to an agreement with the group. That's really what it's. Let me turn this off. Sorry. That's really what the process is about. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Okay. But I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the thing that tends to come up every year that I teach this course on the process journal. People get stuck in talking about what they're actually doing versus a reflection on the process of leadership
and working with members, right?
Correct. Right. You're dealing with human beings here, as a group, and sometimes we don't all go in there with kumbaya, all on the same page. And there's an art to leading, and it's reflecting on what I did good, what I did bad, how can I improve, what can I avoid next time. And I'll give you a perfect example. When I was a first year AP, it was brought to me, a concern from the teachers. We had our buildings. I'm going to go out of this thing here for a second. All right. Our buildings at our school, I was at Piedmont High School, and our buildings, it was like a university format. We had a building for the math department. We had a building for the science department. We had a building for the English department. It wasn't your comprehensive high school building where kids go through hallways to get to classes. They actually go outside to get to classes. So at lunchtime, the math building kids would start at lunch, would run through the hallways of the math building, and the math teachers were not at lunch, that they were teaching classes, and so there was a disruption in the math building. And so I thought, well, I can resolve this problem, and I put together a plan that we had ways to lock the doors down, and it would keep kids out. What I failed in my process here, and not thinking about working with human beings and collaboration, is I locked the building. And the faculty lounge for the whole school was in this building, so teachers that would come to the math building into the faculty lounge for lunch couldn't get in there to get their lunch. And so I dealt with issues from a leadership standpoint that I had to fix. So I would do what we call plus delta on it. What are the things that went right with what I was planning? What were things that I didn't do right? I should have collaborated. I should have gotten more information. And what came out of that is I gave teachers in other buildings keys to go into those buildings, or I left one door unlocked at that math building so teachers could get in there with another plan to handle that building separately during a just if there was a distraction. That's kind of process. You're reflecting upon your success or your challenges to execute a plan from a leadership standpoint. So. That was a great question. That's worthy of sharing with everybody. Is there any other questions or concerns? Kelsey, you really kind of hit the point of the question, because that's the one thing that I always have to discuss with students. Everything else, as far as that particular one, tends to be well done about the process. But I would stick to talking about your site-based team, your PLC teams, discussion of it. You can talk about actually where you're at in the process of pulling it off from I got to do step 1, step 2, step 3, and then the reflection. If you do that, you'll be fine on that one. It's a very common sense, clear-cut artifact.
Yeah, that was a good question, Kelsey. I really hadn't even looked at it yet, just wrapping my head around finishing 3D. So, so I hadn't even really looked at the rubric for 3E. So I appreciate that question. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, any more insightful questions? All right, well, let me ask you this question here for the two of you. I've had Anita here the other night, and no one else. Is this worth having this opportunity to bring people in? It's been limited. I really like to know if the videos are understandable enough to get information on the PowerPoint presentations, and should we continue it that way, or should I do it like the first week where I did a video and then just send it out that way? I'd like to get your input on that. So this is a leadership question. This is talking about reflecting. What's your feelings on that?
I really like it. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes with other meetings and things, I can't always attend all of them. But when I can attend,
Absolutely.
I really do like it. And I actually, the school system I'm in, we've started using Google. Like this afternoon, I had a meeting. All of the math teacher leaders from every high school in our county all met over Google Hangout. And some people have positive and negative opinions. And I was actually telling them, I was like, guys, I promise it works really good if you use it right. I was like, in my grad school class, I was like, we're using it, and I like being able to interact because I kind of feel like I'm sitting in your classroom, and I like being able to ask questions without having to type it out because I'm more of a verbal person anyway. So I've really enjoyed it. And in the previous semesters, the professors I've had have done the PowerPoints where they recorded their voice over the PowerPoint. And there's been especially last semester, we had a lot of technological issues with that. And so I always felt like I was reading what the PowerPoint said, but I really would have liked to have verbally heard the teacher's perspective. And so this has been great for me.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
I agree too.
If I could,
Go ahead.
well, good. Well, we'll keep doing it this way. I'm kind of I don't. It's difficult sometimes doing email questions and answers, and so if people can come in prepared with their questions and hear that we can answer, I can try to communicate it the best I can. When I've, especially with artifacts, when you get artifacts and they're like your question tonight, but there are details on there that I think are better explained verbally or with examples versus trying to type all that in an email. So we'll keep it going, and I will forward this out to everybody tonight, and hopefully that will help the rest of the folks on how to do the reflection. Any other questions? All right, hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and close it off. Y'all have a great night, great weekend. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, bye-bye.